We are over here at the ironing board. You should be at that last part left with two pieces that the wrong sides or the right sides, depending on how you measure or cut it, are together. That's the other joy of always cutting it folded over in 2-ply, is that then you have a mirror image. It's not as important with rectangular pieces like this, but you'll find you really like that on other pattern pieces. Okay, now unfortunately though, we're going to divide and conquer. So, we're going to turn to the wrong side of our fabric. We've got length versus width here, and our pattern. So, oops, upside down. So the first step, steps 1A and B, is to make our 1/4 inch seam along the bottom of each piece of fabric. 1/4 inch to me is tiny for most people who are just starting to sew. If by some chance you want to extend that to 1/2 inch, because that makes you more comfortable, that actually will not affect the pattern at all in this particular case if you add an extra 1/2 inch onto the length of it when you're originally cutting, in which case you would fold it over once and then over again. All it's going to do is make a fatter seam on the bottom part of the pocket. It doesn't affect anything else. So like I said, if you did want to make a fatter seam because it makes you more comfortable, then you would just add 1/2 inch to the bottom of this pattern whenever you make it, and then you would do a 1/2 inch fold and then a 1/2 inch fold instead of 2 1/4 inch folds. Okay, so how we're going to measure this. You're going to want to fold it up so that the right side is showing. You're going to try to get it near 1/4. You're going to use this little guy, measurement guy, that we talked about before. As you fold upward, so hard to do this with not enough hands. Okay, you're going to want to get it so that in between those two, the flat part of the two marks is at your 1/4 inch line, and you're going to want to make sure it's like that all the way across. You can kind of like push it to kind of like start folding the seam if you want. Another way you can do this is to measure up your 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, whatever you decide, and make, lines by measuring up a 1/4 inch, then connect them all with a line. The problem with this being that when you start to fold it over, your line disappears and you don't really see where the crease is supposed to be. But you can always do it on the opposite side too, and that way when you fold it over, you'll see that the line lines up with the edge. I'm going to do it with the seam measure really quick and just kind of push it up and make sure it's the right distance all the way down, and I'm going to fold or press that in place, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and pressed that. I have my iron set to cotton, which is the hottest setting. It's also the one that produces all the steam. Cotton requires quite a bit of heat and steam to press nice firm lines in it. However, the steam especially is probably one of about 2 areas in sewing where you can really get yourself hurt. I speak from experience. Just the other day, in fact, I steamed my hand on accident. If you're not comfortable doing that, or mom is not comfortable with you doing that, go down to the linen setting, which is the next one. It's also the polyester setting. It probably won't steam anymore, but at least it won't be as burny or as risky for you. Okay, so once we have that folded over and pressed, we'll fold it over on itself one more time, the same width, and we will press that. I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got it pressed, folded over and pressed again. It'll look a little something like that, and the overall distance will be, roughly a 1/4 inch. Now you have the option to place pins in here if this is something that you normally do through all the layers of fabric and back up, to hold it in place while you go to sew it. I don't typically do that anymore just because I zip it right through because I've been doing a lot of these lately. But that's entirely up to you if you want to pin it. The next thing that you will need to do is do the same thing to the second one, and then I'll meet you over at the sewing machine.